All right, here we go again. Proverbs 16. So we are officially over halfway through Proverbs. So let's take a look at a few verses. Proverbs 16 verse 2 says, "All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirit." As humans, we have the uncanny ability to rationalize everything we do. I mean, we can really put a positive spin on the most wicked acts you can think of. And we can pull the wool over the eyes of humanity and get people thinking, hey, this person, they're doing all these good things. Look at this person, they're so righteous. You can't pull the wool over God's eyes. I mean, he sees right through that. He looks right down to the spirit and he says, okay, this is pure, this is impure. There's no fooling God there. And so, when we look at this proverb here, we really need to, consider our own motivations, our own intentions. We've talked a lot about criticism, and if we're to criticize somebody else constructively, of course, if we are to provide somebody constructive criticism, we really need to make sure that it's done with a spirit of love. Because if it's not, we probably should just keep our mouths shut, because it's not pure, and it's just going to cause strife. And I mean, of course, on the flip side of that, whoever's receiving constructive criticism, they should receive it with gladness because it makes them a better, stronger person, and all the wiser for it. But we've talked about that before. So just check your motivations, check your intentions, because you can do the right things for all of the wrong reasons, and it doesn't make it right. Okay, move on to the next one. Let's look at verse 8. It says, "Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues with injustice." And so the idea here is that better to have a little bit and be a righteous person than to have the whole world, to have everything you've ever wanted and just be a wicked, evil person. You're much better off having little and being righteous. And I really think back to Matthew 16:26 on this. For what shall a man profit to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? It's not worth it. To have everything, it's not worth selling yourself out for those things. Have little and be righteous. Don't strive to have it all. Not that there's anything wrong with having it all. Proverbs is very pro-wealth, as I hope you've seen up to this point, or at least you'll continue to see this. Proverbs isn't against having things. Proverbs is all about getting things the right way and maintaining those things and being content with the things that you have. Let's look at another one. Let's look at 18. This is kind of a popular one. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So a fall is always brought on by pride. Pride has this way of just blinding us to so many things and making us deaf to so many things. Whenever someone, tells us, oh, don't do that for reason X, Y, and Z. And then, the spirit of pride will come in and say, no, I can do this. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to attempt things that people say you can't do. I mean, that's where innovation comes from. But when it comes to pride, when it comes to arrogance, these are things that we need to kind of shy away from, because again, it makes us blind and makes us deaf to a lot of things. And when people are trying to earnestly warn us, hey, be careful, you're headed down the wrong path, we need to heed that advice and be like, you know what, you're right, and try to get on the right path. So let's move on to 24. "Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body." Now, if you want to brighten someone's day and feel good at the same time, pay somebody a compliment. Say something nice to someone. Give some positive affirmation to someone. It costs you nothing at all. But the result is, that can completely shift someone's day altogether. The same way you can completely ruin someone's day by just being rude to them. If you were, go to a restaurant or to a store, and you would be rude to, the person that's helping you, the employee of the store, or the waiter at the restaurant, you're gonna ruin their night by being rude. But if you're super kind, if you're generous, if you pay a compliment, just overall being a gracious person, you have the ability to, maybe they were having a bad night, you have the ability to completely flip that around and to turn their night around, to turn their day around. So again, it costs you nothing to pay a compliment. Do it as often as possible. And let's look at one more. This is a really good one to close out with. It's Proverbs 16:31. It says, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." And some people would probably like for me just to stop there. Don't say anything else about this one. Just let it be. But so there's a couple things going on here. In general, wisdom comes from experience, right? Whenever you go through something, whether it's good or bad, you should come out the other side all the wiser for it. If you aren't, then you've missed a tremendous opportunity here. And really, when we find ourselves going through some hard times in particular, we really need to reach out to those people that have been through the same thing. Those people that have experienced what we're going through, because they can truly speak into our situation, as opposed to someone that's never been through this situation before. So again, wisdom comes from experience, and kind of all things equal. For the most part, somebody with gray hair is, in general, they're more likely to be older, right? Because that's kind of just how the body works. As you get older, you get gray. Some of us get it a little bit sooner than others. But in kind of the Proverbs world, it was actually a reward. Age was a reward. So if you lived a long life, that was a reward for being wise, because all things equal, generally, the foolish person would die prematurely, as opposed to the person that's wise and they're living, a righteous life. In general, they would live longer. Again, Proverbs isn't a book of promises. It's just kind of, in general, all things equal. This is how life works. So if you've got gray hair, be proud of it. It may be a sign of wisdom.